Hello, it's Matt Linklater here, and I want to tell you my tax story. I'm sure you all have a tax story. You remember that first time you realized what taxes were. So you never really know what taxes are until you see it taken out of your paycheck. So the first time I saw taxes taken out of my paycheck was I was about 23 years old. I was working at Allstate. I had been in the financial industry for about 3 or 4 years. And as I looked at my paycheck, and that day, that month, I had made $10,000. I realized all the taxes and the garbage taxes that the U.S. government was taking out of my paycheck. And it started me to really think about, where is my money going? So let's rewind a few years earlier than that and kind of what got me on to probably notice taxes and to think maybe there's something you can do about it. So I was working at a company called K&E Tools. A gentleman who owned it, his name was Harry. Harry was about 80 years old. Harry was a rich gentleman. He owned a few companies, and he was a real estate investor. One day I walked into Harry's office, and he had a book that was about this thick, and it said something about taxes on it. And being the young, naive person I was, I made a joke. I said, "You really read that stuff?" And one thing he said is, "Hey, one of the biggest things you can do is keep more of your money rather than giving it to Uncle Sam. That's really how you become rich." And so really, when you think about that, one of the biggest expenditures that you have are your taxes each and every year. You know, you're paying 20, 30, 40% just in federal income taxes, and then all the other taxes that you pay, sales tax, and anytime you spend money, you're paying taxes. So one of the biggest things you can do to create wealth, build wealth, and help your company out is figure out, what are the best tax strategies that I can implement to maximize my business and maximize my efficiency. So from about 24 to about 32, I had a great career. I made about $250,000 to $300,000 each and every year. The biggest problem was I was W-2. I was a W-2 employee. So there was nothing I could do about my taxes each and every year other than let them go to Washington. Needless to say, at that point, I became a libertarian and at least a fiscal conservative, as anybody in business owner probably would. I started thinking about, wow, this government is spending way too much money and taking way too much of my money. So fast forward then to about 2010, and I went out on my own and I became an entrepreneur. So here I was, an entrepreneur. I was doing a lot of business consulting, sales consulting, marketing consulting, and financial consulting, as we do today, in different silos, and we brought it all together today. But what I realized is one time I was watching a gentleman speak, and he started talking about different structures you could put in place. He talked about, captive insurance. He talked about, a C Corp and an S Corp working side by side. He talked about, switching your from a sole proprietor or a partnership to an S Corp. Just a lot of different strategies out there. Talked about supplemental executive retirement plans. Just talked about all these different strategies, tax-free fringe benefits, using fringe benefits as an investment in your company. And so I knew all these products out there. I knew all these different things out there. But what I didn't know is, how do you bring them all together? And I started on my quest in about 2010 to say, how do I bring all these different pieces together, all these different products together for a business owner to help them maximize their cash flow? Because you want more money in your business. I always say this, the number one investment you can make is in your business. I had a gentleman one time ask me where he should invest his money. And I said, well, in your own stock, probably. Why would you invest in someone else's stock? So many small business owners feel like that. They feel like I do. And so I started on this quest of saying, how do I maximize for myself all the money that's in my business? How do I keep more in my business? How do I pay the legal minimum in taxes? And how do I take care of my family? And how do I take care of my wife and my kids and my employees in my business? So as I had all these different pieces to the puzzle out there, I started really to identify, how do I bring them together? And that's what led to us now as being Link Biz Solutions and LBS. We had all these different products out there, all these different solutions out there, but how do we bring them together in a consultative nature to help business owners maximize what they do? So here I was, just a 19-year-old kid selling tools on the south side of Chicago out of my Nissan Sentra, looking at this 80-year-old millionaire, wondering, how can I be like that guy? And one of the big things was taxes that led me into getting into the financial world. to slowly kind of morphing into solving my own problems and identifying how do I pay the least amount of tax, to now how do I build this all into a full financial and business consulting firm of LBS and become the accounting firm that ultimately you've been looking for. See, when you look out there and you go to any other financial advisor, and I've called on 13,000 financial advisors, literally. And when you call on all these gentlemen out there and these ladies out there, what they want to do is they want you to put your money in the stock market. They want to charge you 1% and get that recurring revenue for themselves. And the best thing that they offer to business owners is to put money into a SEP IRA. I think the limit's $53,000 or $54,000 right now. And so they say, put money into a SEP IRA and kick the can down the road. And then you go to all these accounting firms. And I've analyzed, we're buying accounting firms. And I've analyzed over 100 different accounting firms, and none of them do they don't do, by and large, accounting or consulting work. They all do tax work. So here we are as business owners, and our average business owner is, not average, but the ones we work with, to tell you the truth, $100,000 in pre-tax profit, up to, I think, our largest is $6 million in pre-tax profit. Here's these business owners that are underserved. They have financial advisors tell them to put money into a SEP IRA and kick the can down the road. And then you have an accountant who's who does rear view mirror accounting. They're looking at what happened last year and trying to account for your money, and you're asking for proactive tax advice. So really, how I ended up to where we are today is by solving my own problems and just going way back to K&E Tools and seeing a rich gentleman that said, hey, Matt, the way you become rich is to figure out how do you save on taxes, and then along the way, doing large financial plans for Allstate, AXA, and Ameriprise, and meet with all these financial people, as I've identified there are other solutions out there than the ones you're getting from your accountant and your financial advisor. And that's what we put together through LBS, is really a full comprehensive strategy to solve my own problems and maximize the expertise. So I want to bring these strategies that I've identified to you, and that's really what LBS is, and that's really what my tax story is really all about.